Fried mozzarella with raspberry sauce is one of those dishes that my area can claim as their own. But is it any good? Why would you ever have mozzarella sticks with Melba? And what the heck is Melba? Today I'm gonna break all that down for you. I'm even gonna go into how to make your own mozzarella sticks from scratch here today. And if raspberry sauce on your mozzarella sticks isn't your thing, stick around to the end and I'll show you how I make my marinara sauce as well. Now this Melba sauce is something that's super weird, but it's essentially a jam made from raspberries. And to make ours, you need raspberries. I have here 16 ounces. I have about a quarter of a lemon and between a third and a half cup of sugar. It's really all gonna depend on how sweet your berries are. This sauce is absolutely simple to put together the way that I do it. Just toss your berries in a pot, add your sugar, squeeze your lemon over the top, and heat it over medium heat until it boils. Reduce the heat down to a simmer and cook for between 4 and 5 minutes. It'll seem kind of thin, but as it cools because of the pectin in the berries, it'll actually thicken up on you and be just the perfect consistency for mozzarella sticks. Let's give our sauce here a taste. I'm wearing a slightly white shirt and I don't want to get it on top. So the berry on its own has a nice tartness to it, and you add that lemon juice, cuts through all the sweetness. Absolutely perfect. It's gonna go really well with our fatty fried mozzarella. The first time I ever ate mozzarella with Melba raspberry sauce was in 1997. We were visiting my college, Siena College, for orientation, and there was a place in Newton Plaza in Latham called Scoobers. Now, if you've been around for a while, you'll remember that I've actually reviewed Scoobers and actually their mozzarella with raspberry as well. What I'm making today is kind of in the same vein, but it's got a little bit of a different twist to it. Theirs has kind of more of a floury coating, and mine is gonna be your typical kind of flour egg breadcrumb, but I have a few secret tips that I'm gonna give you that's gonna make your life so much easier when you make these. About a decade ago, somebody was looking for the actual origin of the mozzarella with raspberry. Now, if you go outside of the capital region in New York, it's really not something that you find. It's really only people who either have been to the area and know how good it is, or people who have seen it online that really make it outside of the area. But it kind of gets traced back to all different places, and there's a few places that still make it around here. Kind of a mainstay in the area is you'll see this on the menu just about anywhere you go, and it'll come with kind of a jarred sauce that a lot of the food providers around here give to the places, and that's kind of standard. It's more of like a raspberry jelly, maybe a little bit thinner than a jelly, but what we're making here is like as natural as you're gonna get from that whole process. We're not adding any pectin or gelatin or anything to thicken it up. It honestly doesn't need it. We gotta talk about philosophy of mozzarella sticks a little bit. Do you use seasoned versus unseasoned flour, breadcrumbs, and all that stuff? Today, the only thing I'm gonna actually season my flour and breadcrumbs with is salt. I don't really want any herbs or cheese to kind of play against my raspberry and my lemon flavors. So we're gonna leave that be. If you were making mozzarella sticks with marinara sauce, by all means, get your seasoned breadcrumb or season them up yourself. But today we're using just plain breadcrumbs. Today I'm making my mozzarella sticks from a block of cheese. I have here a 16-ounce block of mozzarella that you get at the supermarket. The same thing you would use on a chicken parm. And I'm just gonna cut it in half 3 times, and that'll give me 8 pieces. Now, you don't have to be as insane as I was. These ended up making mozzarella sticks that were far too large. So cut them into 16 pieces. I just wanted a nice 2-ounce stick of mozzarella to bread. We're going big here, Here's how you bread a mozzarella stick the way that I do it. Now, I'll tell you, when I used to work in my dad's store, I used to be the one breading mozzarella sticks for a stretch, and I used to actually get in trouble for using too much ingredients in them, because I like a nice thick coating on mine. So what you do is you take your mozzarella stick, you go right into the flour, you go into the egg, and you go right back into the flour and roll it around, make sure it's nice and coated. So you're gonna go double in the flour, back into the egg, then into the breadcrumb, and here's where it really gets crazy. Go back into the egg, and then back into the breadcrumb. This is gonna ensure that you have a nice tight coating around everything, and just make sure that you pack it in there really good. If you don't, the breading's just gonna fall off, and the cheese is gonna melt right out when you cook it. And that ain't what you want. Whenever I do this insane coating, it's a little bit kind of squishy on the outside. So what I like to do is actually move it into the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes before I fry them up. That'll help them firm up a little bit and won't be enough to actually freeze the cheese, so it'll melt nicely when you cook it. The cool thing is you do that on your pan, you lay them out nice, have them spaced out, and then actually if you leave them in the freezer, once they're completely frozen, you can put them in a bag and then remove them when you're ready to actually cook all of them, or cook as many as you want at a time. When you're ready to cook up your mozzarella sticks, what you got to do is heat a pot or a pan. I'm going to use here today a cast iron skillet, even though I know they're going to get a little bit too dark if I do it that way. Fill it about an inch with oil. Basically, you want enough oil to cover about half that mozzarella stick because you could flip it in between. You want your oil temperature kind of on the cooler side. You want these to cook kind of slowly because they're really thick. If you had thinner mozzarella sticks, you could actually start at a higher temperature. I'm starting between like 325 and 350, and I'm not adding too many to the oil at the same time. I'm adding about 2 or 3 to the oil, because remember, these things just came out of the freezer. They're slightly ice cubes. They're going to cool down the oil. If you put those really cold things in the oil and the oil cools too far, it's going to make it hang on to a lot of oil, and that just ain't good. Once your first side is nice and golden brown, flip it over and let it cook on the other side. You want about 3 to 4 minutes on each side, maybe 5 minutes depending on how thick you make them. Don't go as crazy as I did. Make them a little bit thinner. All right, here it is, guys. We got our giant mozzarella stick. You can see the cheese is oozing out. I have my Albany style Melba raspberry sauce. We're gonna go right in. I love it. I just love getting a big dunk of it. Ooh. Because we don't have any herbs, there's nothing fighting against this raspberry. It goes perfectly with the cheese. Think about like brie served with preserves. It's a common thing. Mozzarella kind of is in the same vein. It's a little more stretchy. That's really hot. Absolutely amazing. If you enjoyed this video, hit it with a like and subscribe if you like food. I promised if you stuck around, I would give you the recipe for my marinara sauce. If you click into this video right here, it'll tell you exactly how I make my sauce, 20 minutes or less.